Hello and welcome to On-Set Secrets. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Charlotte.
And we are lifting the curtain on what life is really like working in the film, TV and video production industry.
We are indeed. And our guest today is Alexia Kombou, award-winning voiceover artist who's been working in the industry for 12 years.
Alexia's voice is best known for campaigns for Nivea, Stylist Magazine, AO, and she's also currently the brand voice on Hits Radio. So if you tune into Hits, you'll hear Alexia's voice. She's here today to talk about her experience in the industry and also how much it's changed with the advent of things like AI and COVID kind of changing the landscape. Really excited to hear from her. So welcome, Alexia. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We're very excited to have you here.
So if you could sum up your job in a kind of short, punchy snippet, what would that be?
Okay. So voice actor, voiceover artist, we have a few different names. We are basically the last piece of the puzzle in most production. So I would say if you're looking at commercials, once you've shot the commercial, you're then looking at recording the VO to the visuals. If you're looking at an animation, you're going to be doing the voice of the characters. There's also corporate voiceover, which is a lot of website videos, explainer videos, learning, e-learning, medical. You're pretty much surrounded by voiceovers without realizing. Even walking into the supermarket, when you hear the announcements of the offers, it's on the radio, you've got your TV, your podcasts, your travel. It's
I didn't even think about the supermarket.
Yeah,
it's a subliminal voice.
Yeah,
always.
There's always wherever you can hear a voice that you can't see someone, you can just hear. That's a voiceover.
Mm. And we always start our episodes with foot in the palm door, which is how did you get your foot in the door? Like, what is your trajectory to where you are today? Because often people who work in production, their careers are very squiggly and there's no like kind of linear route.
Yeah. I didn't even know voiceovers were a thing before I started off on this journey. I wanted to be an actress. So I was within the performance realm and world. Started auditioning for acting roles for theatre and screen, and realised I don't think this is the industry for me. It didn't feel right. There was something wrong. And that was part of my identity as a child growing up. I want to be an actress. So that was really tough to navigate. Why am I not enjoying this? Then I came across a voice acting class. I didn't even know what voice acting was. Went along and you're put into a booth with some scripts, and it was mainly commercials. So your standard Pampers advert or, smoothie advert, whatever it is, reading the script, imagining the commercial. And I thought, this is really cool because not only am I not having the nerves of learn lines, so I was finding with acting auditions, it was more of a memory test a lot of the time. Are my lines right? It's once you take the appearance out of things without a camera in your face, and people don't care what you look like, and it's just based on your vocal quality, the whole environment, the whole industry changes. And I felt like this is really talent-based and this is really skills-based, which is what attracted me to it. So I decided to leave the acting for TV, physical screen behind and focus on the voice acting. And within that, you can go into gaming, animation. So you're still performing, even with commercials and corporate, you're still performing, you're playing a character. It's just your voice. And that's the main difference.
Do you feel like maybe it offers a more kind of varied experience than maybe acting might do?
I would say there's a lot more work out there, as in daily work as a voiceover actor. And you can work in lots of different genres. Whereas with acting, you might be auditioning for one role, say it's in the theatre, that you're doing for 6 months, the same role. Whereas with voiceovers, you might be doing a couple jobs a day. So you're playing lots of different roles within one day. Unless you're, say you're just an animation actor or a gaming actor and you're invested in one character for a while. For me, the work that I do is very varied. And that's really enjoyable because every day is really different.
Yeah.
And do you think as well, like you were saying, you know, kind of gets you out of that typecast? I've come from a casting background. I know, you know, it's easy for actors to get kind of shoehorned into only one type of character or like one role, essentially. So, you know, you're playing fun dad and you are fun dad for a decade. Whereas with voice, because it removes that, there's kind of, you know, the opportunity to play lots of different playing ages, for example, and lots of different kind of types of character, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. You have that flexibility. And I mean, you have your niche. So you might have your signature voice or your go-to strong character voice or whatever that is. But you do have the ability to be flexible. And I think that comes from being an actor as well. I mean, you can definitely be a voiceover artist without an acting background. You just might not be able to explore as much as you could if you did have those kind of acting foundations behind you where you can play different characters.
And what is your kind of niche, or what is your, I suppose, your character, your standout character?
Can we hear it?
So funnily enough, one of them is an urban London, they call it street voice, which I do a lot of work in with sports brands or those gritty reads. Maybe it's for quite a hard-hitting campaign, when you're dealing with issues that might be within a city or, you know, the streets, then they would ask for your London accent. So I'm from North London. So when I am in that character, I have to put on my, like, a strong North London accent when you drop all your T's and you just are really raw. And you basically have to leave acting to the side in that sense and just be real. And you can hear that in the voice. You can hear when you're pretending, when you're actually feeling. So that would be one. And another one is just pretty much how I'm talking now, which is just your signature voice in a neutral accent. Whether someone listening might say, okay, you could call this RP, which they call the Queen's English, or you could just call it neutral British, or someone might say, no, I still hear that you're North London. So it really depends on the listener. But for me, I'd say those two are what I do most of my work in.
Can we hear them?
Yeah, so I guess the natural one would be now. So if I were to be doing a corporate read,
You could say, hello and welcome to Onset Secrets.
yeah, okay. So I'd say, hello and welcome to Onset Secrets. So that might be the intro of a corporate read. And if I were to do that as a rough urban, it might be, hey, welcome to Onset Secrets. Something like that, where your vocal quality shifts and the tone and the mood. So it obviously depends on what you're trying to create.
Very impressive how
Very
you can
impressive.
switch from one to the other so quickly.
That's one skill that you have to have, I think, in
Yeah.
voiceovers.
What, the ability to just adapt quickly?
Yeah, to adapt. I mean, you can, like what you were saying before, you can be typecast and do very well, but things go in and out of fashion. So you will soon find you're not working anymore because that's gone. So yeah, adapting,
find a new
moving.
niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any kind of like formal training that you could potentially do if you wanted to be a voiceover actor, or like any training that you've done as a voiceover actor?
From when I was at uni, there wasn't any kind of uni course in voice acting specifically. I believe when you're doing drama degrees, you have modules, but there isn't a sort of one course you can do or a degree. What there are companies out there that offer training, that offer workshops that you can pay for, you can attend, and you can learn more about the industry, which are really useful. But it takes your own research to find them, as with any course, I guess. But I would say they're not sort of formal qualifications. They're just for you to sharpen your toolbox, and you can do as many of these courses as you like, whenever you want, no matter what level you're at. So you can do a course on animation, you can do a course on accents, you can do a course on nailing your conversational read. There's loads of different workshops you can do. It just depends on what you want to target and what route you want to go down.
And were you always good at accents? Were you always kind of, from a young age, could you do kind of impressions? And because it is a kind of a skill for sure, and not everyone can manipulate their voice in that way. Was it something that you were always good at, or was it something that you've had to kind of like train yourself to be good at?
I think it did come naturally. For example, I always remember watching Shrek, for example. I know all the words to the film, and I just used to sit there and read along in trying to impersonate them. So not being aware that I was doing it, just growing up doing it because I thought it was fun. But I'm not actually great at accents. I can do general, so a general Northern, which I hate that because what is the general Northern? General American, the same thing. But to an audience, sometimes you get cast as a general Northern, general American. They just want to hear the nuances of the accent. That I can do. But I find that they like to cast authentic accents, which is why I honed in on my skills, which were basically play to my strengths of where I'm from and get really good at tweaking that. So you can go really, really urban and street and drop every T and like go really, really London, or you can go completely the other way and be your BBC News reporter. So that's still your UK accent, but I'm tweaking it to play to my strengths.
Yeah.
That does make sense, I think.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, because I think perhaps, you might have somebody who's actually from the north and going, I don't, like sometimes when you watch a film and the actors are obviously doing an accent and, if you're from that region, you're like, that doesn't actually really sound like the accent, does it? Like, oh, they've not picked that thing up there. Or, I think it is quite hard to mimic an accent completely and to not fall out of it. Like sometimes if you're, putting on a new accent, as an actor, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are people that are amazing at it, but you have to have the training.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you can naturally just be great at an accent. I think you have to learn. The accents are how your tongue and your mouth shapes and moves whilst you're speaking. So is your tongue at the roof of your mouth? Is it below? There's so many things that come into play when you're thinking of an accent. Is it nasally? Is it all at the front of your face, or is it more behind? And that's what you need to learn, and that's what the courses will teach you.
I've actually worked with a dialect coach, not me personally, but on a production where we got a dialect coach in to kind of train some of the actors who are potentially from near the region but need to have that specific tone that's very specific to that smaller kind of area. Have you ever worked with a dialect coach at all? Or
I've done a course in perfecting the American accent, and it's amazing what little neat tips and tricks you can learn to help you with certain words. Just how you might round your mouth with a certain word, which you wouldn't know. But in terms of for jobs, I haven't really had the need, because other than one animation I did where I was playing the role of an American character, she didn't have a huge amount of lines, and the lines she had were pretty straightforward. But if I were to take on a long-term role, I would definitely want a coach on that.
Yeah. And if somebody wanted to kind of get into voice acting, do you have any tips? Like, where would you start, or where would you tell them to start?
I wouldn't want to be starting the industry at this point in the whole kind of what's going on in terms of AI and just how oversaturated it is. So hats off to anyone who is interested in the industry. You can definitely succeed within it, but you need to be aware of the graft that will come with it. It's not something you can just get an agent and just start working. And I think it's important that people are aware of that. My advice would be to get really good and get really good reels before you approach anyone, because your reel is your first impression and you get one shot to make a first impression. So get some really good reels made, and you can get those made at reputable voice reel companies, and that's just through doing some research online. And they will often give you feedback on what they think your strengths are. And that's very useful to have an outsider who you don't know, that's not your family and friends, saying, you've got a great voice, I think you should do voiceovers. To being honest with you and saying, well, I actually think you'd be great at documentaries, or, you know, you've got a really trustworthy voice. You might be really good at medical reads, that kind of thing. Once you have that kind of insight, I would then consider starting on looking into how you can record. So setting up a home studio, how do you go about that? That's a whole thing. So we're not just VOs, we're also engineers.
Do you have your own home studio? That you
Yeah,
record from?
I've got my booth. I've got a session booth, and it has been a progression, improving your equipment as the years go on, and investing more. So most of us do start out with a duvet over our wardrobe doors.
That is always what we recommend. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Whenever we do UGC content and talent ask us like, oh, you know, how should I record? We always say under a duvet.
Yeah, it's just the best sound. Well, the best sound you're going to get when you don't have a budget.
Yeah.
Just open your wardrobe doors and put your duvet over it.
Okay,
And
good tip.
yeah, get us a mic stand, put your mic on your stand, and off you go. But that's not sustainable, and that's not, you can't do that for very long. So then as you start to make a bit of money in the industry, start investing and thinking, do I have a cupboard that I could, you know, put some soundproofing in it, some foam, get a little desk in there, put my mic and a monitor. I wouldn't ever put your actual laptop in the booth because of the fan. And for me, it's always been picked up on the mic. So I have a monitor that mirrors my laptop, which is outside. And that's how you can start off. I was also under the stairs for a little bit, like Harry Potter style, which didn't work that well because you've got to tell everyone to not go up and down. And then transitioned to, I had a carpenter build me a booth, but essentially it was a wooden box that I soundproofed, and then I invested in this session booth. So it's been a progression, but that's essential. It's the days are gone of all your recordings being in a central London studio. I would say
That doesn't exist anymore.
20% of my time is probably in a studio, and the rest would be at home. Clients like to dial in and they like to listen in, which is fine. That's, you can do that over Zoom or whatever, however you prefer. But one-to-one in person recording since COVID has dropped off quite a lot because we can do it from home now.
Yeah. And I imagine obviously it's good because you don't give any time to traveling as well. Give you a lot less time to traveling. So it's kind of,
it's good and bad. I'd say the pros are time. You can fit in a lot more in your day if you're doing it all from home. If you have commitments, say you have a family, it's easier because you don't have that travel time. The cons are it's lonely. There's a lot of time spent by yourself, and you are juggling many plates and wearing many hats. You have to be the engineer. And sometimes that stress, if you're not used to it, if you're just a beginner, will ruin the session for you because you're worrying about your levels and your editing and is this okay whilst you're recording. So when you know, by this point, to me, it's second nature. But starting out, it was a big worry. And things have gone wrong, you know, when either it stopped recording halfway through or you forgot to press record. And that's when, you know, when you don't have the support of an engineer. So that's a big con, I would say, of having to do it at home.
And having to invest in your own equipment, essentially, like upfront costs as well. Whereas before, you know, everything would be taken care of by a studio. So you would just arrive and do your thing. And then, but now you're having to wear like many hats and, you know, make sure your equipment's up to date and, you know, correct and everything.
Exactly.
You touched on AI, but I imagine that's such a huge shift, negative shift, I imagine. Because we're seeing so much with kind of intellectual property rights, and what you can do with voice is quite terrifying. Like there's softwares out there that you can put someone's voice into it and then type in anything and they will create that person saying that line, you know. So you know, how are you navigating that, and how has that affected you?
It's been a big issue in our industry. A lot of us, including me, have fallen victim to voice theft. So doing projects that the contracts have been airtight, this is for internal use, and then you hear your voice on a system and you think, well, how did that get out there? Because this project I did said it was for internal use. And you kind of have to go through your clients and think, what project was it that could have led to this? You kind of tell the ones that may potentially. And now we know you stay away from those projects because of the risk. Back in 2018, 2019, we didn't know. So a lot of us were doing these projects for, okay, we'd like you to do, it's testing for a system, but it's for internal usage. And you have your contract that says, this isn't going anywhere, this is just for our, you know, our testing, and you're recording lots of words, and then you hear it out there, that's not for internal usage.
Yeah, that's really
Without that
naughty.
contract, you have no leg to stand on, but with the contract, you're able to pursue some sort of action to get it removed. And that's why contracts are important. So now we do have the knowledge of what not to do to try and protect ourselves. Having said that, there are still ways, I don't know if this is accurate, so don't quote me, but I think you only need around 15 minutes of your vote. Is that true?
10.
10
It's
minutes.
10. It's so scary. It's a certain software. I won't name the software, but you can put 10 minutes of someone's voice in, and somehow they're able then to have that voice say anything.
Yeah.
And it is, I've like demoed it, and it is scary, you know, and that's scary on a lot of levels, not just for voice actors. It's also like very worrying, I imagine, for any kind of famous figure or performer, because essentially your voice can be manipulated and made to say things that you didn't, you know, consent to say.
Kind of like deep fakes
It
as
is
well.
deep
though,
fake,
you know?
And
Terrifying.
there's been cases of voice actors I know that their voice has been maybe on TikTok, the TikTok voice, that kind of thing, which was never, they had never agreed, saying sexual, political, you know, unethical content, which could be detrimental to their career. And that's a big issue, especially if you have a recognizable voice. I think for us as voice actors, we worry about these things happening and, you know, clients maybe not then wanting to use you if it happens, which in reality, I mean, I've had it happen to me and I've been okay. But I don't think we are at risk of losing our client base, because it, you know, that's not what they're hiring us for. It's not our fault, kind of thing. What I do feel sorry for celebrity voices whose voices are cloned, and they're losing out on a lot. And there's a lot of risk for them because the fact that they're in the public eye and their voices are so recognizable. So in that sense, I worry more for those big voice actors. But I think Equity, our union, are doing a lot now to kind of push for laws. The problem is the technology moves quicker than legislation.
Yeah, it's
so
really tough.
it's really tough to
and as
keep
you
up.
say, there'll always be those underhanded kind of people that try and twist the system and twist the rules. And
Can they not just have a flat out, you cannot, you know, manipulate or copy my voice?
So I don't think there's any legal, I don't think we own our voices. I think the law states that we don't have intellectual property over our voices. So technically, they're not actually breaking the law. What they're breaking is breaching contracts. If the contract says you cannot use this externally, then there's the breach. But what we now do, the way that we protect ourselves is on all our invoices, you should have your T's and C's, and there should be an AI clause on there. So anyone that's paying that invoice has agreed to that we will not be using this for AI purposes. And, you know, if they're your regular clients that you know you work with all the time, there's no real risk factor there. For anyone new, you can get them to sign the AI rider, which I believe NAVA in the USA have written a template that all voice actors can use. and you can send that out and say, can you sign this before we do the job, so that you feel protected.
I mean, you mentioned post-COVID the difference between actually physically going in to a London studio and versus being able to now do it at home. Has there been anything else that you've seen over your kind of career span, industry-wide, that you have found has changed massively since when you started?
I would say how you find work has changed. There are a lot of clients, companies going to, say, pay-to-play sites, which are websites that a voice actor will pay a subscription, and there will be castings on there, and you audition for them. And what's happening now is there are so many voice actors, there are thousands of applicants per job. So being able to get jobs on those websites is a lot harder, and the price, like the fee that you're paid for it, is usually a lot lower. And I think what's happening is companies are clocking on, oh, I can get a voiceover for a lot cheaper if I put it on this website, rather than go to an agent or go direct to voices. Rates are an issue. I think they've changed a lot over the years, and that's just because the economy has changed and budgets and
We feel it. It's the same in
doesn't
production. Like I think the landscape of production has massively changed, and budgets are getting kind of cut and smaller across the board, and everything feels like it's kind of in this squeeze. And unfortunately, like what we find too is that it is kind of the value placed on these specialisms and skills, it's kind of going to the wayside over just getting as much content for as cheap as possible. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it's a difficult one, because someone's going to do the job. So say there's a job that comes up that it should be in the thousands, but they're offering high hundreds. You know someone's going to do it anyway. You then, I believe, have to go for cash, kicks, or kudos. So how much you want to work with that brand or that company. Will it fulfill you to do the job? Will you be annoyed about it because you know you're being paid less than you should? Do you feel ethically wrong because you're undercutting the industry? There's a lot of questions morally that you have to consider whether to take on the job or not. Do you need the money? Do you need that client? So it's always a personal battle. Someone is going to voice it. You have the opportunity. Do you do it or not? And that's something that only you can answer as a voice actor. There's no right or wrong with rates. There are high, low, undercutting, unacceptable, but there's no one there saying you cannot do a job for this amount, because they're there and they exist. So that's a personal thing on how you want, what kind of business you want to have, whether you want to grow a business where you only do work with high value clients, and you can create that kind of business. You're just very selective. You might have less work, but overall you know the jobs you're doing are of very high quality and high value. And then just say goodbye to any ones that aren't within your rates.
In terms of how you find your clients and your work, can you talk us through that?
I do a lot of direct marketing, and that's how I've built my business. I've been doing this for about 12 years, and 12 years ago there were fewer voice actors. It was still a very busy industry, but I was finding that a lot of the companies I was reaching out to maybe only had a few voice actors that they worked with. So it was a lot easier to kind of get in with them and become one of their regular voices on their, say, corporate or explainer videos. So I still have those clients, and I still have that approach today. So I will directly find companies that I want to work with, that I like the kind of work they're doing, or I feel like I can add value, and reach out to them and create a working relationship. And sometimes it takes years to actually convert that into a paid job. It's all about relationship building. And it takes time. That's mainly how I go about finding my work now.
It's funny because, you're wearing a lot of hats there. You're the voice actor, the marketeer, the business management, accounts, because you do your own taxes, the engineer, and it's a lot, isn't it? Under one,
It is a lot.
You wouldn't assume it when you see voice actor.
And I think it's very easy to kind of look at a voice actor and think, oh, they've got the best job in the world. Like, yeah, okay, it is actually, for me, I think the best job in the world. But there's a lot that comes with it. And there is always that underlying anxiety with any freelancer in production of, am I ever going to work again when it's a quiet week? And what's happened, and especially this year, like the current climate with budgets and the economy and cuts, there's been a hit to in all aspects. So there's been points when you think, this is harder graft this year and this is tough. But you don't, whilst you're in it, you don't really realize how much you're doing just because it's all part of the job. Yeah.
So I suppose that kind of leads into, was there anything kind of unexpected that you never thought you'd be doing when you became a voice actor? like
engineering.
yeah, but anything else that you
Yeah.
haven't touched upon, I suppose.
I think the level of knowledge you have to have around keeping up with what's just going on in the industry, so that you can understand why there are ebbs and flows or trends in vocal tone or quality. I mean, the announcer voice is completely gone. All auditions we get through now are conversational, natural, real, nothing announcery. So in that sense, you're always learning. Most definitely the technical side. Accounts, I would 100% get an accountant, just because I mean,
It's a lot.
no one wants
You
to be doing
recommend
that.
an accountant.
Yeah, I can recommend an accountant. Yeah, and I think just trying to be involved in the community is important also for your kind of mental health, because it is an isolating job. And you don't realize how isolating it will be until you start.
So are there kind of like voiceover actor networking events and things like that you kind of go to?
There are, yeah. And there's conferences. There's conferences based on certain genres. So there's, for example, Develop, which is coming up in July, which is for gaming. Then there's the One Voice Conference, which is kind of a blanket. They go over every kind of genre. In America, they have VO Atlanta. There's lots of different events going on. You just have to find them and be brave and go. Yeah.
And do you ever go with a buddy now, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky that I've found kind of my voiceover tribe over the years and met them at a conference, and we just decided to kind of make a group and be each other's accountability partners and lend an ear if we need help with rates or just are feeling frustrated about something or want to share a win. It's important to kind of find even just one or two people that you can do that with.
You mentioned gaming. Obviously, it's a huge industry, but what is your kind of split, I suppose, of like, what do you do the most of? Is it the corporates? Is it gaming? Is it kind of very different year on year?
Year on year, I would say there isn't really a trend. You just don't know what's going to come through.
Yeah.
But I would say generally, if you looked at my career as a whole, my day-to-day work would be corporates. So that would be, those are the projects that are very quick and needed all the time. So those are your explainer videos. It might be for a product, it might be for a new company, or training videos for employees. There's also a lot of financial videos or pitches for, say, there's new builds going on, environmental factors, all those come under corporate. And then I do a lot of commercial. So that's your radio ads, your TV ads, podcast ads, anything that is advertising something, I would then do that. The commercials are higher value. So when you first start out as a voiceover and you want an agent, they will always ask you to have a commercial reel. And that's because the commercials pay the most. So they would like you to have something that is obviously going to bring in the money. The corporates are your bread and butter. So if you're lucky enough to be voicing commercials for a brand regularly, then you have some element of security. You can also get contracts in place with, say, radio stations. So I'm currently the station voice, or I do the branded content for Hits Radio. So that's a contract that I have. So there are ways of kind of creating some sort of stability, but the level of competition is so high. That's when you need to be putting in the marketing work to chase it.
And how do you market yourself?
So mostly direct email marketing, but LinkedIn is a huge platform that I'd say is my go-to social media platform that I use for marketing. And that's where you find the right people to talk to.
Yeah.
It's a way of keeping in touch with people without being pushy, by sort of commenting on posts of new work, of liking things. They're all points of contact. It's all marketing. It's all about becoming top of mind. So direct marketing and LinkedIn, I'd say.
Is there something in particular that you love so much about voice acting?
I think being able to use your voice as a platform to make change or to tell stories or make impact is really powerful, because where essentially it's just you and a microphone. No one can see you. So being able to make someone feel something through the power of your voice is mind-blowing. You can make people laugh and cry just by them hearing the quality of your voice and the emotion behind what you're saying and feeling. You can hear a smile and you can hear sadness. And it's not until you're kind of given a brief or a campaign or a script that really means something that you can understand how that can have impact. It's like when you see, I'm sure you've seen adverts on TV that have really hit you. And it's not just the visuals. If you take away one of those elements, if you took the visuals away, it wouldn't be as hard-hitting. If you took the music away, if you took the voiceover away, all these elements work together to create that impact. But the voice is just as important as those other elements. And I think that's why I love it, because it can be so powerful.
Is there anything that you feel really needs to change in this industry that you would change to make things better?
So rates are an issue in terms of understanding how do I quote for something. And it's a minefield and everyone's quoting differently. So there's a scale. So you can go on rate cards online, which they have, but they might say ranging from 250 to 400. Okay, so it's up to you where you put yourself. But what if the job is 175? Or, what do you then do? And then how do you work out usage? And it gets very complicated. This is when it's great when you have an agent, because you just hand it over to the agent and they'll figure it out. How they figure it out, I'm still trying to understand. There are so TV commercials are a bit easier because you can have television viewer ratings, which are TVRs, and you're usually given a figure and you put that into the calculator and it gives you your fee, which is great. But then if it comes into, okay, this is an online paid commercial, is showing in these territories for 12 months, there's a lot to go through. So I think we need a set rate for these kind of things, because it's just voiceovers competing against each other and it's becoming a race to the bottom. And it really is
Benefiting nobody.
No, it's benefiting no one. So what we're all trying to do is push our rates up all together so that there isn't someone coming in at £75, so that we're all trying to push the rates up so clients don't have the opportunity to hire someone for a really low rate because they're not around. It doesn't exist. The thing is, people just starting out in the industry, they want to get brand names, they want to get the client base. So where do you start? We've kind of all been there where we haven't understood. We've just starting out. We're offered a job for way below what we should be, and we do it because we think, well, if I was working in a retail now, I've just made the same amount I would in an hour for that I would in a whole shift, and you think that's great. And it's not until you're actually in the industry for longer that you realise, oh no, I was actually taken advantage of then, because the rates are a lot better than that. So rates do need, the understanding of rates do need to improve. Another thing that needs to change, I think, is people's attitude towards voiceovers. So I find that a lot of people think I have a great voice, people have told me I'm great at impressions or accents. How can I work in the industry? And it's, as we've discussed and deciphered, it's not just that. It's not just about having a great voice. Sometimes it's not even about having a nice voice. How can you create meaning and impact through your voice? Can you be a good voice actor? Can you sight read? You know, can you understand words on a page and lift them off and make them sound like you're not reading? That's how you become a voice actor. It's not just about sounding right and having a nice voice. So this whole attitude, which what us voice actors found was happening a lot during COVID, when people realized there's something you can do from home where you're just kind of reading scripts and making money. And, you know, I want to do that, but that's not all it is. So I think it's the general understanding and attitude towards voiceovers probably needs to change.
Do you think during COVID you saw a huge boom of new kind of talent or new people trying to get into the industry?
We saw a lot of stage actors. The theatres closed and all filming closed. So they thought, well, let me go into voiceovers now. Whereas it was always a thing on the side for them. It then became, well, I need to make this my main thing. And that made us voice actors who had put in all the hard work to become established feel a little bit deflated, because you didn't want that before. You wanted to be the main person that everyone could see, and now you're okay being behind the scenes. And it kind of, you know, it was always like, well, I'm an actor, but I do voiceovers sometimes. And then it all became, I want to be a voice actor. And I've got nothing against actors, so it sounds really negative towards them. It was just at that specific point in time, I felt like now it's good enough for you, which was a bit sad.
I felt the same way about content, actually, because we do mainly branded content and commercial. We don't touch TV and film yet. But I found that, like, obviously all the production companies that had, you know, nothing to do with branded content or online content at all, suddenly, and same with, you know, directors, cinematographers, were coming into branded content because there was no TV and film. And suddenly it was like, oh, hang on a second, this wasn't interesting to you like a year ago.
Now you want a piece.
But I do think, like, again, that comes from like maybe a fear place of, like, you know, this myth that there's not enough work, and, you know, there is enough room for everybody, I think. And it's just a case of, as you say, it's like not using, you know, people gatekeeping the same, or like clients gatekeeping the opportunity, and paying people fairly as well, rather than, you know, having to do 20 jobs in a week rather than just like 3 or 4.
Exactly.
You know?
That's it. And that's where you want to be. Over time, you want to be working less and earning more, because the value of your work and the clients you're working with should be increasing.
Yeah, and it's your experience too. It's like any career, you know, if you've done it for 12 years, you're far more experienced than someone who's just jumping in, who's not done it before, you know. So that's also what they're paying for, not just, you know, your voice quality, but also the experience that you put forward to your clients, the package, the fact that you do your own engineering and you have your institute, you know, all of that together, all of that years of work that you've put in is also what, you know, they're investing in too.
Exactly. Although there is a caveat to that. There is an element of luck in terms of the job that comes in, and if the casting director just thinks you're right for it. I mean, this could be your first or second job, and it could be a huge one. And that's just being in the right place at the right time. My second audition was for the Google Maps voice. That was years and years ago, which I didn't get. But I auditioned, I was in the room, and that was just pure luck of seeing the casting, submitting a read, and them thinking, that voice could work. They had no idea about my experience or anything. And there is an element of that. However, once you get in the room, they will know.
Well, we always finish off with our pit versus peak. So the pit is kind of your most challenging or your most negative career moment, and the peak is obviously your best kind of career moment. So do you have a pit for us that you can share?
A pit. probably when I heard my voice that wasn't me, that I didn't give permission to. When I heard that out in the wild, that was probably one of the worst moments. Just hearing yourself say words you've never said and thinking, how did that happen, was really scary. And just because I knew this was going to be a long road of trying to be detective now and figure out what's going on. So that's probably a low point. Also, doing a whole session and realising it wasn't recording.
Oh, no.
That's an awful one.
Oh, that like sick feeling.
Do you tell the client? Or do you just end the session and say, I'll send you the audio and then record it all again?
Yeah. What did you do?
What did I do? I think I did the latter.
Yeah, I think I would have done the latter too.
I just remembered everything we did really well and did it again. And it was okay. Yeah.
I think I would have done the latter
Yeah.
too.
I mean, that's sort of where you can do that. But imagine if you forget to press record
on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that
on
then.
this conversation.
Yeah. Let's start again. And you say the peak.
Yeah.
Peak. There's a few moments where I've thought, this is amazing. And that would be winning some awards, just having that recognition, because we don't get that. You don't have a boss or anyone tapping you on the back saying that was really good.
Name drop them, come on.
Yeah.
What ones did you win?
The One Voice Awards. So I've won 5 from them over the
Amazing.
years.
So
And every
amazing.
time it's been amazing, because you feel like you're actually being your hard work is being recognized. And it's so lovely. It's encouraging. And sometimes you need a bit of a boost, and it just kind of makes you realize, okay, I'm good at this, and other people think so, because we don't have that. And another one would be just working with some dream brands that I've had the opportunity to work with, and voicing campaigns that people have said, I loved that campaign, that really made me feel something. That is really important. I think that's when you feel like I'm actually doing something that's just, it's fulfilling. Because, you can be chasing success and you can be chasing your goals and you reach them and then you want more and then you want more and you're successful, but you're unfulfilled. So when you do the jobs that actually mean something to people and they comment on it, you realize, okay, this actually feels good. I feel like I've done good.
Any campaigns that you can name that you really felt like had that impact and that punch?
Yeah. So the Stylist Magazine campaigns that we've done for Love Women, female empowerment, those actually won some Best Web Commercial Awards.
That's actually, we should say that's how we know. Like, it's because Charlotte and I worked on those campaigns back at Stylist.
People were messaging me saying, I'm crying watching this. And that's also amazing script writing. It's not just the VO. Once you're given a script like that it's giving a message that people really relate to and that's just raw and real and authentic, it sounds better when you're reading it. So all elements together is what made those campaigns really impactful. And then obviously the dream roles. So last year I did Google Chromebook, that's just a dream client, right? And that's more of a bucket list, I would say. Yeah. And then I've always loved working with sports brands, and I did some bits for Adidas. And that's something just for me, I felt so cool. Like I've actually achieved that. I was like, that was on my vision board. So those are peaks.
Yeah.
Is there anything that that you haven't done yet that you like, I really want to do that?
I would love to do more animation. I've done a little bit, but getting a regular role on an animation would be really, really good fun, I think. And because it's so different to what I do every day, just having that connection with a character and really getting stuck into it long term would be a really nice thing, I think.
We'll watch this space maybe
Yeah.
this time next year. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
we really,
you
really
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
I think it's been so interesting to learn about, and I think you've really kind of shared the reality and also like all the other work that goes in alongside it that people, particularly, you know, someone coming out of film, you know, film school or acting school wouldn't realize, which I think is really interesting and important.
Yeah, I've definitely learnt a lot about voice acting. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was really, really fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Amazing. I could listen to Alexia's voice just to on repeat all day. I feel like it's very
soothing.
calming and soothing. I wish my
She
voice
is a
was like
professional, I suppose.
that. I love what she was saying about how you can convey emotion, like so much emotion through a voice, and it's so true. You can tell, you know, if someone is smiling through their vocal kind of tone. Really interesting stuff.
And I think, yeah, it's true what she says. Like a lot of people just think, oh yeah, I can be a voiceover artist. Let's just do it, you know. And it kind of takes away from those people that have kind of been training for years to do it. It's like,
Specialize in it.
it must be so frustrating with AI. Like, I just can't believe that. It's killing.
It's really disgusting, and the fact that, you know, aside from if she hadn't had a contract in place, there's no recourse to do anything about it. You know, that's really scary, and that definitely needs to change. So interesting to get a deep dive into that. And also, like, we think in production sometimes that we're the only one wearing all the hats, but actually everyone is wearing all the hats.
I really learnt that today.
really learned that today. So thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, if you enjoyed On Set Secrets, please subscribe, like, share, send to your friends. DM us on Instagram and let us know if there's anyone crew member that you want to see next on Set Secrets.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye.
Bye.